Well, happy Friday. We made it, and welcome into HQ Spotlight here on CBS Sports Network. I'm Jordan Giorgio alongside Haley Sutton, and we have quite the agenda today. Yes, we have a lot of things to get through, but we begin with the very latest as NFL training camps continue across the country this week.
You got week one wrapping up for most teams, and Jordan, as you know, these camps are never without the drama. We've got controversies when it comes to contracts. We've got injuries, and there's no shortage of storylines when it comes to the AFC North. There's storylines all over that division. Of course, Jaire Alexander having to remind Lamar Jackson, quote, "I'm still me," after Jackson tried to test the waters against his new cornerback yesterday at practice, tried to catch him slipping. But Jaire Alexander looking to make a big impact for the Ravens this season as he settles in to his new digs. And he tells us he is right where he's meant to be ahead of the season.
It's actually an amazing feeling. You know, I mean, defense wins championships. So I'm in the right place to do that.
Certainly, if you're going to be a star on defense, Baltimore, the place to be, as we welcome in John Breech and Mike Renner, as they're going to give us some reasons for optimism with each of these teams in the AFC North. And guys, we're going to start with the Ravens. We just heard from the new addition there in the secondary and Jaire Alexander. If you remember last year, the Ravens finished 12-5. They won the North before losing to Buffalo in the divisionals here. Mike, when you talk about being in the right place, the right time for Jaire Alexander, why should he be feeling good about going into this season?
Because he's going to a secondary that down the stretch last year, they were the best in the NFL. They made that big move in week 11 when they put Kyle Hamilton, who was playing the slot. They moved him deep back to safety. Marlon Humphrey, they put him inside of the slot, and they put Nate Wiggins, the rookie first rounder, on the outside. And from week 11 to week 18, they were the #1 pass defense in the NFL in terms of EPA. The difference between them and number 2 on the list was the same difference between number 2 and number 13. So they were so far and away the best pass defense. Obviously didn't work out in the playoffs, but adding Jaire Alexander to that secondary, swapping out Brandon Stevens, who was the weak link in that secondary for him, and then adding Malachi Starks, your first rounder, to the safety position as well. I know they lost Darius Washington, who was a stud last season, but Malachi Starks, if he is who a lot of people think he is, including myself, could even be an upgrade there. So all those reasons says that this should be right up there with the Denver Broncos for the best pass D in the NFL.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct, Mike. And I'm going to go the opposite side of the ball. I think my reason for optimism with the Ravens is that they have nearly their entire offense back. This isn't just Lamar Jackson, who's obviously returning. We're talking about Derrick Henry, Ronnie Stanley. That was something that was going to be eyeballed this whole offseason. Was he going to return and play left tackle? Well, he is, along with almost the entire offensive line. Patrick McCary was really the only big loss they have. You go to receiver, Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers. So this offense, which put up the 3rd most points in the NFL last year, which put up more yardage than any other team in the league, now has another year of continuity, another year of familiarity, and you're adding DeAndre Hopkins to the mix. So this offense might be even better than it was last season when it was already one of the best offenses in the NFL. The Ravens might score 40 points a game. That is how ridiculously good this offense could be. So that is one thing all Ravens fans should be optimistic about.
Of course, everyone's excited for that divisional rematch against the Bills, Sunday Night Football, Week 1. And John, real quick on the Ravens offense, in that Bills game last year, of course, we all remember Mark Andrews dropping the pass and how tough that was. So when you look at Mark Andrews specifically in the offense that you just talked about, what's the mentality for him as he goes into training camp this year, looking to put all of that behind him and remind people why he's one of the best tight ends in the league?
Well, I think it helps that his quarterback absolutely has his back. Lamar Jackson's been asked about that multiple times this offseason. How do you feel about that drop by Mark Andrews? And Lamar just says, hey, look, I had multiple turnovers in that game. Sure, that drop didn't help us, but if I don't make those errors, maybe we win this game. Maybe it doesn't come down to a drop. So when you have a teammate who's really got your back, I think that makes you feel a lot better. Mark Andrews has been very productive his entire career, and we'll see the first week or two of the season, he comes out and has a 4 or 5 catch game, scores a couple touchdowns. I think they will be able to quickly put this behind him. But if there's a couple drops in there, things could get a little dicey. But Mark Andrews has been good for so long. I think he will be good once again this year.
He has talked this week about leaving the past in the past, staying present, living in the moment. So we'll see how that works out in that Week 1 game against the Bills. Let's go to the Steelers, guys, because the most polarizing quarterback in football is set to make his debut with the Steelers against his former team in the Jets Week 1. However, as we saw, Training camp week 1, not perfect for Aaron Rodgers. There's still some questions as well about how he's going to impact the culture there. I want you guys to take a listen to Mike Tomlin addressing those concerns.
When in Rome, he's going to be Roman. And it's our job to, teach him how we do things. But not only him, guys like Jalen Ramsey and others, man, we got a lot of new significant players. As a coach, I embrace that challenge of educating them not only about the things that we value, but how we go about our business here. They all been really receptive to it.
When in Rome, Aaron Rodgers is going to be Roman. I don't know if that makes me feel good as a fan, but either way, Renner, is Rodgers going to be cause for concerns in Pittsburgh or a reason to be optimistic?
I think it's going to be both, right? That's the beauty of Aaron Rodgers, is that he can give you the high highs, but he can also give you the low lows. But I do think, just given how the last couple of years went for him, given how the conversation is basically, treating Aaron Rodgers as if he's a laughing stock at this point in his career, that he's going to go out there with a lot to prove. And over the course of his career, when that's been the case with Aaron Rodgers, oftentimes he's the one getting the last laugh. So they've added 2 Super Bowl winners to the team, and Aaron Rodgers on the offensive side, Jalen Ramsey on the defensive side. And if you just go back and watch Aaron Rodgers, when he was healthy, when he wasn't, fresh off the Achilles early on in the season, when he wasn't banged up towards the end of the season, he actually was the 13th highest graded quarterback by PFF, which just grades on a throw-for-throw basis, what he's doing with his arm. So he still has that in his game. He just had a terrible situation around him in terms of the offensive line play, in terms of the receiver drops that the Jets had last year, in terms of the offensive scheme. That should improve here in Pittsburgh, and if that's the case, we might see Aaron Rodgers back to some Pro Bowl caliber form.
Yeah, when you look at the Steelers, they really dealt with drama on both sides of the ball this offseason. It was Aaron Rodgers, who's going to be the quarterback. Once that question got answered, it was, can they get T.J. Watt under contract, their superstar pass rusher? Now that they've got that taken care of, I think that's just as big as the fact that they brought in Rodgers. Because you look at what T.J. Watt has meant to this defense. We're looking at the numbers right there. He has the most sacks in the NFL since 2020. He is the only player in NFL history who has led the NFL in sacks in 3 different seasons. When he is on the field, this defense is a lot better. And when you look at the Steelers' schedule this year, they have to face Joe Burrow twice, Lamar Jackson twice. They face Josh Allen, Jordan Love, Justin Herbert. So they are facing a lot of very talented quarterbacks. And when you have a schedule like that, you need a pass rusher like T.J. Watt on the field. And when you look at the Steelers, how they've done when he doesn't play, he's missed 12 games in his career, including the playoffs. They're 1-11. So T.J. Watt, it was absolutely instrumental that they had to get this done. They got it done. This defense is going to be good. And if Rodgers plays well, the offense is going to be good. Maybe a dark horse Super Bowl contender.
Okay, it is July 25th. I'm going to remember that. By the way, I thought this was interesting. We had this on HQ the other day. T.J. Watt over the next 3 years is going to make more money than his brother J.J. Watt did over his entire 12-year career. So the money is flying. Steelers fans are feeling good about the defense. Don't know if we can say the same about the Bengals. We know Bengals fans have just had a really hard time being optimistic this offseason, the contract controversies. But we got a chance to hear from Jamar Chase earlier, and he's just focused on getting better every day. Take a listen.
Every year is a restart for us. Every year is a restart. Every year we got to find a way to get better. There's always more guys coming in that's hungrier, that's getting smarter, getting faster, and the only way we can do that is if we do the same thing and try to outsmart everybody, get faster than everybody, and be, better than everybody. And there's only so much we can push ourselves, but we got to get the ones around us to grow with us.
Feels like it's easy to say that when you're one of the top paid players in the country. Can't say that about the defensive side there. But either way, guys, the reality is they're going to need to get better if they're going to avoid another one of those slow starts we're always talking about in Cincinnati. Breech, why should Bengals fans be feeling optimistic?
Well, I think it's because this is where Joe Burrow is finally healthy, just fully healthy, where he can have a normal training camp. Look, the Bengals are 1-9. Joe Burrow was 1-9 in the first 2 weeks of the season. You mentioned those slow starts, Haley. Well, a part of that is because the offense is rarely in sync once the season starts. You look at Burrow's career. In 2020, there was COVID, so training camp was total disarray. 2021, he was coming off the torn ACL. 2022, his appendix burst. I mean, crazy things are just always happening. 2023, the calf injury. Last year, he was coming off the wrist injury. So Joe Burrow has just never had a normal training camp where he is fully healthy. That is finally happening in this year. And yes, there are some distractions. Trey Hendrickson, Shamar Stewart are not there. But Burrow and the offense finally have a chance to get in sync going to week 1 and week 2. And I think that is absolutely huge because that will give this team a chance to get off to a fast start and start 2-0 for the first time in Burrow's career.
And it's not only Burrow that's happy and healthy now, it's that wide receiver duo that's happy and healthy. You remember last year when they came in, T. Higgins had that, hamstring that made him miss the first 2 weeks of the season. Jamar Chase comes in late, questions about was he in shape. First 2 weeks of the season, he doesn't even have over 100 yards total. Doesn't have a single touchdown. They lose both those games. These guys are coming in now. They've all gotten paid. They're all happy. They're all healthy. And now week one with a full training camp, we might not see those slow start that we saw last year that basically cost them the playoff spot. They win those 2 games. If they even just beat the Patriots in week one, they would have been a playoff team last year. That was the difference. I think we're going to see a different team now week one this year.
It's just so simple, guys. Just pay your guys, make them happy, and then they go out on the field and perform. It's that easy. The Bengals going to open the season week one against the Browns, which takes us to our final AFC North squad here, the Cleveland Browns. The story this offseason, as you guys both know, has been the quarterback competition. Head coach Kevin Stefanski giving us an update on how things are going to play out here through week one of training camp.
I've talked to our guys, competing for a starting role is not new to football, not new to the quarterback position. That's just part of what we're doing. And that's not the only position where guys are competing for a job. I know that with the number of guys, I know that's the part that's unique, but they're all wired the right way. They know to keep the main thing the main thing.
Keep the main thing the main thing. I mean, Breech, the quarterback situation is one thing, right? But it is nice on the other side of the ball when the defense is at least sorted out with Myles Garrett there. Maybe some optimism in Cleveland?
Yeah, I think if you're a Browns fan, that is your most optimistic thing you have going for you, is that the best defensive player in the NFL is on your roster. Look, we know the Browns are total disarray at quarterback right now. We don't know who the starter is going to be week one. Is it going to be Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel? It's still unclear, but we do know that Myles Garrett will go out there and terrorize the opposing offenses. And look, Garrett had 1 foot out the door. He wanted to be traded until the Browns backed up the Brinks truck and said, please stay, we really need you. And that's good, because when your quarterback situation is in disarray like that, this is going to be a situation where the Browns, the first few weeks of the season, might have to win football games 10-9, 12-10, 15-12. So if you're going to be in these low-scoring battles, it certainly helps to have one of the best defensive players in the NFL on your roster. And Garrett said this week he thinks this team can be a Super Bowl contender. That seems a little crazy to me, but if Myles Garrett says it, I might just believe it, because that man is an intimidating person.
Yeah, I would probably agree with him if he said it to my face, but I'm going to disagree with him here.
I'm not buying that. I'm sorry.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They're the clear 4th best in this division still. Like, it's still going to be tough, but I think the reason for optimism is you don't have to talk yourself into, as a Browns fan, rooting for Deshaun Watson anymore. You have these 4 quarterbacks that one of them's going to win the starting job, that you aren't going to have to root for this pariah, this guy that you didn't ask for, that you got grandfathered into by way of your GM and your owner, that quite frankly, a lot of people just didn't want to root for there in Cleveland after they got him. Now that's not the case. Now you get some optimism with some young guys in there, and if one of those guys ends up winning the job or coming in early and looks good, all of a sudden it'll be a much, much more fun time to be a Cleveland Browns fan.
Yeah, we got 4 other quarterbacks to worry about on this roster. Deshaun Watson, you can sit this one out. Guys, sit tight. We're tackling a different division on the other side. But first, I want to leave the folks at home with the odds to win the AFC North. No surprise, it is the Ravens at the top, looking to repeat as champions last year at -160. The Bengals, though, plus 260 if they can get out to a hot start. The Browns, 33-1 odds. So, Myles Garrett, you got some work to do in Vegas if you're going to get to that Super Bowl. But, hey, anything's possible.